From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Speaking with the Enemy.
Welcome back to the Ticats Audio Network, and this is Tiger Cats Pregame presented by Greenworks. And yes, we are rolling on to that time of the pregame show where we speak with the enemy. And folks, we got the longtime voice of the Calgary Stampeders with us. Folks, we're ready to get ahead of the cold Canadian winters. Look no further than redtag.ca. Picture yourself basking in the warm, shady sands of a tropical island where worries melt away like ice in the sun. Don't let winter hold you back. Plan ahead and beach better. Travel made easy with redtag.ca. Like I said, let's bring in that Hall of Fame voice of the Calgary Stampeders, Mark Stephen. Thanks for joining us. And as I give this sort of redtag.ca plug today, talking about you don't need to go away to anywhere today. This is such beautiful weather for a football game on a Saturday night. You got to love it.
Yeah, unbelievable weather. Just a spectacular day. Not a cloud anywhere. It is unbelievable, but you mentioned getting away from the cold winter. That's what we're returning to. Wife told me she had to scrape the window this morning, so there you go.
Really?
Yep.
Well, Mark, it's a big matchup tonight. Calgary, is there still some belief in that team that they can make the playoffs and overcome the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
Yes, there is. It's partly because the Roughriders are just keeping the door wide open for them. They aren't playing very well either. They do have a meeting October the 13th. The Stamps have a bye after this game. That game could signal a tiebreaker. And I get it. They're relying on help. Like, for instance, next week Stampeders play Hamilton, and I will be a Ticat fan next week when they're in Saskatchewan. But that's just what it is. They're relying on help. It's not a great situation. I don't want to overstate the case, but they still believe that if they get anything going, they just haven't been consistent enough. If they get anything going, they can get back into the playoffs with, admittedly, a well under 500 record.
Well, you got Jake Mayer leading the CFL in yardage coming into this week. What's going on? Why can't they put it in the end zone and have a better offensive production overall when you have a lot of individual stat lines that are pretty outstanding?
Well, it's certainly one of the stories that has, defined the season. You're right. You added up the number of yards that he's put up, then measure that against the number of touchdowns. It's just they've had futility at times in the green zone, red zone, whatever you want to call it, score zone, and it's led to a lot of problems. I mean, last week against Montreal, right off the bat, they drive down, then an interception. That's kind of demoralizing and deflating. That's happened an awful lot. So, it's tough because you don't want to put it all on his shoulders. There's been 2 games this year, where one in Toronto and one against Ottawa. He's thrown for 4 touchdown passes. They're 0-2 in those games. That's not the quarterback's issue. So you can see that things have just been not all in sync, and that's why they've had such a problem.
Yeah, a bit miscombobulated, or
Yeah.
I guess you could say. You got Rene Paradis, the kicker for the Stamps, has 5 more field goals than anyone else in the league, yet you have a team that's 4-10 coming into this week. So some issue there getting those touchdowns.
Because they are moving the ball, but they're moving it only into Rene Paredes' scoring range, which, again, is okay, but they've relied far, far too much on him. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, he had kicked successfully more field goals than anybody else had tried.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, so there you go.
How about Kadeem Carey? He's missed a number of games, I think 8 so far this season, and is he back to form of his All-Star form last year?
Yeah, I believe he is now, but you nailed it right there. He was a guy that was expected to return to the top of the league and maybe win another rushing title, but it just hasn't happened for him. He's missed such an extended period of time, although it has allowed them to expose Dedrick Mills as a very good running back as well. So it's a good tandem there, but Carey's the guy. No sense kidding anyone, but you're right. It's just been an injury-plagued season for him, and just one of the things that's kind of gone sideways for the Stampeders.
Is there any issues on the offensive line when they can't get the running game consistently going well?
Yes, there has been a problem with the line, particularly at the tackle spots. They've been rotating those through. They let Derek Dennis go at the end of training camp. They were counting on a gentleman named Hugh Thornton, who was with the Stampeders last year, but he had a situation where he's had an injury. It just doesn't seem to heal, so he's hardly played. They've been rotating the tackles. The interior 3 have been good, except for tonight. Sean McEwen, the regular center, is out for this game. I think it's only a short-term absence, but nonetheless, his knowledge and experience will clearly be missed.
Yeah, that's a big loss right there.
And just centering in on the offense there, free agency is reality in the Canadian Football League and any league for that matter. I feel like the Stampeders lost over the years a lot of talent at the receiver position. Is it finally catching up with them? I know they've gotten a big boost with the return of Marco Michel, but it just seems like they just don't have that star power any longer.
I would say there's some of that for sure, that they've let a lot of guys go. They seem to have stocked Toronto's roster with a lot of receivers there. Yeah. I should point out, though, and again, not using it as excuse, but Malik Henry only played 2+ games. They signed him to a 3-year deal. They thought he was going to be a centerpiece of the offense. Jalen Philpott, a Canadian, hasn't hit the field. He had a torn hamstring that has hit the field this year and had to undergo surgery. So those are a couple of the things that have happened that have certainly made things difficult. And they've got 18 guys on the 6-game list. I got to believe that's the most in the league as well.
We got one star, Reggie Begelton. He's been really coming on strong as of late. He's top 5 in the league in reception. He's top in receptions and targets. I think he's 3rd in yards and top in yards after carry. What kind of boost has he brought to that receiving corps?
Really good. He's a really, really good veteran, and he's also Mr. Second Down. He's caught more second down conversions than anyone in the league as well. So, no, he's the leader. He's a very talented receiver, works very hard, runs very disciplined routes, and just a real quality professional that they just love in the dressing room. And he got off to a bit of a slow start, but he's been getting stronger and stronger game by game. And, last week he had 13 catches, which was right up there for the most in Calgary's team history, and certainly a great game in the CFL.
Let's move over to the other side of the ball. A name all our listeners are familiar with, Julian Hauser. What kind of addition has he been to the Stamps this year?
Oh, they're very happy with him. He's played very well, very dependable, very smart guy. He's certainly contributed in the dressing room as well. So they're very happy with him and the acquisition. You mentioned that some players both left. Sean Lemon left, and also James Vaughters only played a couple of games this year. Then he was injured. So they've had to rely on Hauser, and he's delivered. So have the rest of them, Derek Wigan, and also on the inside, Mike Rose have delivered. So that's been a pretty good unit. But they got to get more pressure on the quarterback. They haven't had too many sacks of late.
They got a guy racking up a bunch of tackles, Mika Ah, and he's listed as a DA, but I'm sure he plays the 90% of the snaps in one way or another. Just one of those technicalities in the CFL rosters. Cameron Judge next to him, a guy that's been viewed for a number of years as one of the top linebackers, and to boot, he's a national player. So any issues in that linebacking crew that you see? No,
those are two very good linebackers. Like you say, Mike has been up there with the league leaders in tackles all season long, and they're thrilled with Judge. They just talk about how well he plays that position, and they got out and signed him. He became, they didn't let him become a free agent. They jumped all over and made sure he didn't hit the market, because the market would be strong for him. He's been outstanding for it, and so has Mike for the whole Stampeders team this year.
I want to ask you about Trey Robertson. He took the league by storm when he first came in, and a number of years back tried his luck in the NFL. Comes back now. He's listed as the field corner. Has he been there all season? What's his role been? And is he still that shutdown corner that we got so used to in his early days?
Not quite as much, but he's still very talented. He missed a couple of games here and there, but he's playing well. But you're right, he's probably not the player he was a couple of years ago, so they've been moving him around. He's played both sides. They'll flip-flop them from time to time, but not quite as dominant as he was, but a guy that they won on the field for his leadership and his intelligence back there.
So you're looking at this roster, a number of stars, all different positions. What does it boil down to of why they're out of sync, as you said, overall?
Well, I can't say there's any one reason, but I told you about those 2 games where Jake Mayer was tremendous. I'll give you another game, though. They were in Montreal, and they moved the ball, didn't score any touchdowns, 6 field goals. Montreal wins the game because they ran an interception back. I mean, if you can't get to the end zone, and they held the other guys off the scoreboard in terms of offensive touchdowns, where's the problem? Again, that game, it was offense. There's been other games where he scored just 11 points or so, and then if you only score 11, that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. There's been other days when the offense has been strong, and they lead the league in kick returns given up. So they've sprinkled in a few very untimely and dangerous returns. So it's been one after the other after the other. There's been some games where they've been good in 2, but not in 3, and that's inconsistency that gets you to where they are.
You mentioned kick returns. We've seen some sparks from Tommy Lee Lewis in that return game. Is he going to be handling most of the returns tonight?
And guess what? He's going to bust one of these days. He is so close.
Here comes the
prediction.
prediction.
So close. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Mark, do you know anything about this Grey Cup announcement? We keep getting bugged about it.
I suppose if I dig around this table and turn it upside down, maybe I'll find it. And,
who's going to be playing? Do you have any clues?
No.
Who are you hoping for?
Who am I hoping for? Is it Canadian or American actor?
No.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Because a few years ago, they brought the Imagine Dragons to Vancouver. They were entertaining. I know they didn't have anything to do with the Grey Cup, but it was entertaining. I don't know. Does it have to be local? Drake?
No. I mean, I think it's going to be big. If it's going to be Carrie Underwood on a Friday.
Well, that's my point.
Like, it's got to be equal value, do you not think?
Yeah, and I'd say Drake is that or even more.
Maybe he got the inside track on Drizzy.
I have no insight on nothing, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice, I can tell you that. So I'm just trying to think of somebody else of that magnitude.
That'd be big. Weekend, that's just another name.
Is Taylor Swift tied up that Sunday?
She'll be tied up for 6 days in Toronto about a year from that same date.
Oh, that's
but that's
right,
a year ahead from now. Hey, Mark, one thing to throw to you at 4-10 right now with this team. I'm presuming this has got to be with the attitude of a must-win.
Oh, yeah.
For this team right now. We don't talk about the Calgary Stampeders not making the playoffs. I mean, will there be any repercussions? I mean, I don't want you to predict, but
I would say no. Yeah, like if they're talking about management and that, no. I mean, this is a one-off. There's been so much success for so long. It's hard to just turf everything. But everything will have to be on the table. I mean, this is not a great situation. I don't want to minimize it either. But, no, I don't see any major earthquakes around the team.
Looking at the Ticats from arm's length away, what do you see? What are you concerned with? And what do you see their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, get Toronto off the calendar, first of all. That'd be one thing, to get rid of them and all those losses. I see a team that's been a little erratic because of the quarterbacking picture as well. That's been a problem. A tremendous pickup in Butler. I think he's been outstanding. So has White. The change up at the kicker spot. McAllister's been a nice addition. So I see them as a good team. They're about where I thought they would be. And a playoff contender. Are they a serious threat for the Grey Cup? I'm not sure, but let's just let it play out when the playoffs begin and see what happens. But no, I think they're a good team. Again, the quarterbacking issue, it hasn't played out the way anybody thought. There's only one team that has had their day one starter play every game, so that's Stampeders. And it's disappointing that the matchup with Bo Levi Mitchell didn't materialize today.
It's strange how there wasn't Hamilton at Calgary on the schedule.
I know.
Not that maybe it wouldn't have mattered with the injury anyways, but that would have been a marquee.
The good news.
TV event.
The good news on that, guys, is that I'm hearing. I don't know my sources, but I'm hearing that there will be a more balanced schedule next year, where there will be at least a home and home for both teams, and I think that's a positive move for many reasons. I mean, look at the game yesterday between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Toronto Argonauts. I mean, there should have been a Grey Cup rematch much earlier in the year. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, there's a lot of different quirks that go into it. And for instance, the Stampeders went to Montreal a few weeks ago. That was the first time in 4 years they've been to Montreal. So that's
crazy.
Yeah, it is. I know.
In a 9-team league.
Yeah, that's my point. It's not like there's dozens of opponents like the NFL when they drop the schedule. And Hamilton doesn't come to Calgary, which again, the Bo Levi Mitchell story was. Such a letdown when we realized that wasn't going to happen. And same thing. Montreal was go to Edmonton to Montreal. Gino Lewis and that. So.
It was good to see Bo out there with some of his former cohorts out there. He's obviously not playing today, but out there chatting it up with some of his boys.
Yeah. I talked to him at length yesterday. It was really good to see him, and he told me he thinks he's going to get on the field by the end of the season. So he did some work after the playing 45 were on the field. I mean, he looked good, but whether that's good enough to play in a game, I guess we'll find out soon enough. Hey,
Mark, Stephen, you continue to be one of the best in our business, and we certainly appreciate your side of the story and checking in with us. Thank you so much for joining us on Speaking with the Enemy, presented by Red Tag.
Okay.